What we got here? Rolo, what is the best course of action for me to take with someone I know who is currently being zeroed out? Oh boy. His wife is cheating on him, which has led to the usual escapisms. Yes. Alcohol, gambling, to cope with it. Thanks as always. Okay. So if you've got a friend who is being zeroed out, what does being zeroed out mean? There's a lot of different definitions of it. Okay. You could have lost your job, lost your wife. It's a typical country song. I lost my job. I lost my truck. I lost my dog. I lost my wife. Men become zeroed out many times during their lives. How you sort of pick yourself up and dust yourself off, and how do you recreate yourself after that? That is really the true test of the character of a man. I'm hesitant to say that maybe even Fresh is being zeroed out right now. I don't think so, but he's got a good base of support, and I'm not really worried about him. But when a guy gets zeroed out, the best thing you can do is realize that he is being zeroed out and explain to him what's going on. When your girlfriend or your wife leaves, most of the first thing guys will do is they turn to alcohol or prescription drugs. There's a biochemical reason for that, because when you look at lust and you look at sexual arousal and you look at love and infatuation and you look at those emotions that really sort of bring a man and a woman together, like sort of so they will have baby, essentially they'll reproduce, right? But the chemical signatures of like the cocktail that's sort of swirling around your bloodstream at that time is very chemically similar to like heroin or cocaine. Got videos, like TED Talk video. I forget the lady's name. TED Talk videos where she breaks it down molecular. Like you can actually see the similarities between the two. And essentially what you're doing is you're breaking an addiction. So when you hear songs like you're my greatest addiction, or addicted to love, like what Don Henley, like addicted to love, when you hear those songs, therefore those are honest, man, because that's really kind of what a lot of guys feel. And so when you remove that heroin or you remove that cocaine or whatever it is from the organism, the reward center of that organism, and first thing most organisms will do is when they're used to getting a regular reward like sex, but this is behaviorism 101. Operant conditioning is based on the rat presses the lever and the food pellet comes out. Okay, that's like one to one. Now sometimes it's intermittent reinforcement, which is I hit the lever, nothing comes out, hit the lever a couple more times, one pops out, right? So then what you try to do is hit it 4 times to see if it'll come out on the 4th time. But if it just like sort of variates, then that's what's called intermittent reward or intermittent reinforcement, positive reinforcement. So when the rat hits the lever and no pellet falls out, and he hits the lever and it's like nothing's coming out, what that rat will do is what's called an extinction burst. And so it'll go like circle in the cage and then press the thing, or it'll go over here and do a backflip and then it'll come and press it to see if that's like the novel behavior will in some way trigger the reward. And so you have to, most organisms like with higher neocortex, I don't know, will do novel behavior. It's called an extinction burst, meaning like the behavior to reward process is no longer functional anymore. And so that extinction burst means that the man or the woman or the rat or the dog or whatever will now in some cases do some very extreme behavior to reconnect that pleasure that positive reinforcement. And since the chemical signature of lust and physical arousal, and especially when you see your girlfriend, like, like it's like sex is imminent, right? It's a dopamine hit. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that dopamine is the precursor to endorphins that are the pleasurable endorphins. Dopamine is not itself a pleasure hormone. It's a precursor to that. That's people don't really wrap their heads around. When people say, you're addicted to dopamine. No, I'm addicted to the endorphins that come after the dopamine, actually. But it's the anticipation. Like here it comes. Where is it going to be next? That's why gambling is something that is a go-to. What that guy is doing is novel behavior, drinking, maybe prescription drugs, smoking weed, who knows, escapisms, gambling in this case, which is interesting because gambling also is a novel behavior. But it is the anticipation of a reward or a payoff. So I pull the slot machine. I'm hoping it's going to be the next pull, I'm sure. Right. That's technically, there is gambling addictions. Addiction is using your own biochemistry against you. So you got all those things. In this case, alcohol is usually where most guys go. They get blackout drunk. Well, why do they do that? Because the euphoric feeling of being drunk is maybe not, it's a cheap knockoff of the way the biochemistry that he felt when he was a girl. Now she's gone and the reward is gone. So I'm going to replace that reward with alcohol or with weed or with opiates or whatever it is. So I think the best thing you can do, the best starting point you can do, is to recognize that, tell him that, and instead of, you're going to do it anyways. You're going to crave new experience. You're going to crave something to reestablish the dopamine hit and the endorphin hit. There's ways you can do this that are healthy. Get into the fucking gym. You want to know why guys like fucking gross out and they start doing trend and they just get fucking hulk up in the gym after a breakup? They're motivated as hell, right? But there's also a physical aspect, a biochemical aspect of getting in the squat rack and lifting fucking heavy weights, right? That's it, assuming you're doing it in a responsible fashion, right? That is one alternative. Another way is to listen to loud music. Listen to the music that you really fuck. I love that. I don't care. It doesn't have to be Lamb of God. It could be like, I don't know, Jay-Z or whoever you like, right? Whatever your genre happens to be, whatever like gets you off, whatever you get down to, get that and play it as fucking at 10, at 11. Turn it up as loud as you fucking can, because there's music actually is a precursor to good feelings, right? So if you're going to replace dopamine, replace it with a good form of dopamine instead of a bad form of dopamine. So that's the best way I can put it. Let's see. FYI, he's a coworker, a family member, so this makes it slightly difficult when I am constantly being told about it. Yeah, well, be with him. Like, I think a lot of guys, when they are in the situation where they have to help a guy get through being zeroed out, it can be taxing on you. So you got to remember that you're in it for the long haul, as long as this guy is too. Okay. Especially if he's a family member. The other aspect of this is that because he's family, you have sort of, maybe you sort of feel like kin altruism, right? You feel like you have to be there for him. You don't want him to off himself. And by the way, when guys go through divorce, they are eight times more likely to commit suicide than they were just normally, I guess. Or like when they lose a job or they take a real hit, it's not just a hit to their finances, it's a hit to the ego as well. So bear that in mind. I would suggest doing things instead of talking about things, because in the doing like men talk, or women talk, men do. So when you're doing something and you have that communication, it's better if you're taking a walk. It's better if you're going to the gym. Maybe you're lifting together. It's better if you're fishing or you go to the gun. Well, maybe the gun range isn't a good idea, but you know what I mean. If you share a hobby of some sort, then have that communication, doing and performing an activity, rather than let's go to Starbucks and catch up. No, don't do that. And don't go to the bar and like refuse to go to the bar, right? Say, no, that's not a healthy way to fucking, deal with your problems right now, because you want to reestablish that biochemical reaction.